The moment Mara placed the bar of gold on her palm, her world tilted. The warmth of the sun returned as if it had been hiding behind clouds just to watch this exact moment. She stared at the glowing treasure, her heart thudding fast like it wanted to jump out of her chest. She had nothing yesterday, nothing, not even hope, and now this. A gift from a stranger. No, not just any stranger. An old woman with eyes too wise to be normal. Walking home, she held the handbag close, glancing at it like a new mother with her first child. People passed by, but she didn't hear their voices, didn't notice their eyes. Her thoughts were full of dreams, rent money, food, clothes, maybe a small business. She smiled to herself, barely able to contain the joy bubbling inside. But when she reached Jasper's street and saw him standing outside, everything changed. He was still on his phone, probably complaining about the missed opportunity. She called, out with excitement, "Jasper!" Her voice was soft but joyful, full of hope, ready to share the miracle. But he didn't smile. He didn't wave. He dropped his phone to his side and stared at her with cold eyes, like a stranger she had never met. "Jasper," she said, stepping closer. "You won't believe what happened." But he cut her off. "So you left me just like that?" Her smile dropped slowly. "I didn't leave you. I helped the old woman, remember?" Jasper scoffed, shaking his head. "That's the problem. You always want to be the kind one, the good one. But where has it gotten you? No job, no money. I thought you were serious, Mara." Mara's hands trembled as she held her bag tighter. "Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," Jasper said sharply, his tone full of frustration. "You want a better life, but you act like life is some kind of movie. That woman played you. She probably laughed the moment you walked away." "No, Jasper," she said, her voice cracking. "She gave me something." "Something special." He turned his face slightly, not interested, until she slowly reached into her handbag and brought out the gold. The moment the gold touched the air, it shimmered like something alive. Even in daylight, it glowed, soft but sharp, as if it didn't belong to this world. Jasper's mouth opened. Slightly, he stepped closer. What is that?" His voice had changed. It was no longer angry. It was something else now, curious, hungry. "She gave it to me," Mara said. "The old woman, she said to keep it for 7 days. Then I can sell it. She said it would change my life." Jasper stared at the gold, then at Mara. His expression twisted. "This is real?" he asked. "Are you sure it's real gold?" Mara nodded slowly. "She said I should wait, that my kindness would open doors." Jasper's eyes darted around, then back at the gold. "Let me hold it," he said suddenly. Mara pulled the gold back, shaking her head. "No, she told me to keep it safe. Just for 7 days. I'm not supposed to give it to anyone." He frowned. "Mara, don't be silly. I just want to feel—" "Make sure it's real." She stepped back. "I'm sorry, Jasper, I can't." Something passed between them then. A silence full of tension, as heavy as the gold itself. Jasper looked at her, and for the first time Mara saw something strange in his eyes. Not just disappointment, not even anger. It was something darker, a shadow. "All right," he said after a while. "It's your gold. Do what you want." Mara nodded, relieved, but something inside her didn't feel right. She smiled weakly, hoping it would fix the air between them. "Thank you, Jasper. I'll still share with you when it's time." He said nothing. That night Mara couldn't sleep. She placed the gold under her pillow and held it close, whispering small prayers. But outside her window, a pair of eyes watched her room for hours without blinking. And far away, the old woman sat in her cracked house, her eyes closed, lips moving, without sound, as if she was chanting something into the night air. A small flame flickered in front of her, burning without smoke. She whispered one word 3 times. 7. Mara woke up with the feeling that someone had been in her room, even though the door was locked. Her eyes scanned the walls and ceiling, half expecting to see someone watching her. But everything looked the same. Quiet, still, normal. Except nothing felt normal anymore. She sat up slowly, her hand going straight under the pillow. It was still there, the bar of gold, warm and silent, glowing softly as if it had a heart of its own. She held it in her palm, studying it again like she had the night before. She still couldn't believe it. Maybe this was a dream. Maybe she had lost her mind. But no. It was real. By mid-morning, Mara couldn't sit still. The old woman's words echoed in her mind. 7 days. What would happen in those 7 days? Would the gold vanish? Would it turn to dust? Would something bad happen if she disobeyed? No, she wasn't going to risk it. She would do exactly as the woman said. She put the gold back in her bag and walked to her cousin Naya's shop down the road. Naya was loud, loving, and always full of advice nobody asked for. Mara didn't plan to tell her everything, just enough to ease her thoughts. "Mara," Naya shouted when she saw her. "You've been hiding. What's going on?" Mara smiled nervously. "I've just been thinking. A lot." "You? Thinking? Now that's dangerous," Naya laughed. "Come, sit down, let me make you some tea." As they sat and sipped the hot, sweet tea, Mara leaned in and whispered, "Naya, have you ever heard of something strange? Like someone being rewarded by a stranger?" Naya raised an eyebrow. "What kind of story is that? Like, let's say someone helped an old woman and then the woman gave her something valuable, something very powerful." Naya's face suddenly turned serious. She leaned back and stared at Mara. "You didn't touch anything from a strange old woman, did you?" Mara froze. "Why?" Naya dropped her voice. "There are stories, old ones, about people who help someone poor or weak, and in return they're given something magical. But those things come with rules. If you break the rule, bad things happen." Mara's heart skipped. "What kind of bad things?" "Disappearing. Madness, death," Naya whispered like she didn't want the air to hear. Mara looked down at her cup. "But what if the person doesn't break the rule?" "Then maybe, just maybe, they get blessed," Naya replied. "But those stories always have a price. Always." Mara stood up soon after. She hugged Naya and left quietly, her mind spinning. She wanted to believe this was just a strange but lucky moment, but something in her bones told her there was more to it. When she got home, her front door was unlocked. Her chest tightened. She was sure she locked it when she left. She stepped inside slowly. The room was dark, still. She looked around. Nothing seemed missing, but something felt wrong. Then she saw it. Her bag. It had been opened. Mara rushed to it and pulled it open. Fully, hands trembling, the gold was gone. She let out a sharp cry and fell to the ground. Her eyes scanned the room wildly, looking for signs of where it could have gone. That's when she noticed the footprint on the floor near the window. Jasper. She knew that shoe. The brown sole with the small crack. He had worn it for months. Had taken it. Mara's heart raced. She ran out the door, not even locking it behind her. Her legs carried her faster than they ever had. When she reached Jasper's house, she didn't knock. She pushed the door open and stormed inside. The place was empty. Quiet. Too quiet. Then she heard it. A scream. From the street. She turned around and ran outside. People were already gathering. Some were backing away. Some were filming with their phones. Others just stared in silence. In the middle of the road, shirtless and barefoot, was Jasper, running, screaming. His eyes were wide open, filled with something that wasn't fear. It was madness. He clawed at his own chest, shouting words nobody could understand. "It's burning! It's melting me! Take it away!" He was holding the bar of gold, only now it didn't look like gold. It looked like it was alive. Black smoke rose from it, wrapping around his hand like a snake. His skin was bubbling. He dropped it, screaming again, falling to his knees. Mara pushed through the crowd. "Jasper!" she yelled. "What did you do?" He looked at her, and then he laughed. A loud, empty, terrifying laugh. Then he collapsed. Mara stood frozen as Jasper lay on the ground, his body shaking in wild spasms. People backed away slowly, their whispers thick with fear and confusion. No one dared to go near the gold that still lay on the hot concrete, now darker, almost burnt-looking. It no longer shone, it looked poisoned. Someone muttered behind her, "This is witchcraft." Another said, "The boy has touched something he shouldn't have." But Mara didn't hear them. Her eyes were fixed on Jasper, the boy who was once her closest friend, now reduced to this broken, screaming mess. His eyes were wide and empty. He didn't seem to know where he was anymore. "Call an ambulance." Someone shouted, but Mara stepped forward slowly, her legs shaking. "Don't touch him," an old man warned. "Whatever that thing is, it's cursed." She knelt beside Jasper anyway. His mouth was foaming now, and his skin looked pale, sweaty, sick. She touched his forehead. "It was burning hot, Jasper," she whispered, tears running down her face. "Why did you do this?" He looked up at her, just for a second. His lips moved. He whispered something so low she had to lean close. "I just wanted to be rich, too." Then his eyes rolled back and he fainted. The ambulance came minutes later, but it felt like hours. The crowd stayed back, murmuring superstitions and prayers. The medics picked Jasper up carefully, avoiding the strange bar of gold. Nobody touched it. Nobody wanted to, except Mara. She walked slowly toward it. Her hands trembled as she reached out. Some people screamed, telling her to stop. But she didn't listen. Her fingers touched the gold, but it was cold now, cold and still. She picked it up carefully and held it tight to her chest. For a second, she thought she heard a whisper, not from the crowd, but from inside the gold itself. 7 days. She gasped and dropped it again. What was this thing? Back at home, Mara sat on her bed, the gold now locked inside an old biscuit tin. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jasper was at the hospital. The doctors said his body was fine, but his mind was not. He kept mumbling nonsense, talking to people who weren't there, screaming whenever someone tried to get close. Mara didn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about what Naya had said, about rules, about a price. She kept hearing the old woman's, "Please don't keep it for 7 days, don't sell it, don't give it to anyone." Jasper had stolen it before the 7 days. Was that why he went mad? The next morning she returned to the old woman's house. She needed answers. But when she got there, her heart dropped. The house was gone. Completely. In its place was an empty field. No walls, no cracks, no flowers, just grass and silence. She stood there, confused, spinning around, thinking maybe she had taken the wrong turn. But no, it was the same place. She knelt down and touched the earth. Warm. Not recently dug, not burned, just clean. Like the house had never been there. "Mama," she called softly. No answer. Suddenly wind blew hard behind her. She turned quickly but saw nothing. Only a red cloth, the same kind the pot had been tied with, blowing across the grass, then vanishing into the trees. That night, Mara made a decision. She took the biscuit tin and placed it on her table. She would wait out the 7 days, just like she had been told. No one else would touch it. No one else would suffer because of her kindness. She lit a candle beside it and stared into the flame, whispering softly to herself, "Only 7 days. Just 7. But across the city, a man with dark eyes and a crooked smile watched her through a cracked mirror, the reflection showing not her room, but her soul. And he whispered to the mirror, "She's the one. She has it." The mirror cracked again. Mara didn't leave her room for the next 3 days. She barely ate, she barely slept. Her whole body felt like it was waiting, like something big and invisible was pressing down on her shoulders, breathing at her neck. The gold stayed inside the tin box on her table, untouched but never quiet. At night she heard it. It didn't make sounds like metal. It didn't clang or rattle. No, it whispered, sometimes in her dreams, sometimes in the dark corners of her room when the lights were off and the shadows were thick. Sometimes in her own voice, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. Jasper remained in the hospital. He hadn't spoken a full sentence since the day he touched the gold. His mother called Mara once, crying over the phone, begging her to explain what happened. But what could she say? "I had a cursed treasure and your son stole it." No one would believe that. On the 5th night, Mara tried to pray. But even her prayers felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling. God seemed distant, or maybe he was watching too closely. That was the same night the man came. It was around midnight. A sharp knock at the door, like a fist made of stone. Not loud, just heavy. She froze. The room was completely dark. The candle she lit every night had gone out on its own, as if scared. Her breath was caught in her throat. She stood, slowly walking toward the door. Every part of her body screamed not to open it, but she did. A man stood there, tall, thin, wearing a grey coat that seemed too long for his body. His skin was pale, like it hadn't seen sunlight in years. His eyes were dark, but not black. More like empty, as if someone had scooped out whatever made them human and left just holes. "Mara," he said, smiling, showing teeth too perfect to be real. She didn't answer. She couldn't. "I've come for what doesn't belong to you," he added. Her heartbeat raced. "What do you mean?" she asked quietly. He tilted his head. "The gift, the bar of gold, the blessing that was never meant to be shared." Mara stepped back. "The old woman gave it to me. I didn't steal it." He chuckled. "She gave it, yes. But she was not alone. You think that kind of gift comes without watchers? Who are you?" she asked, voice trembling. "A collector," he said, "of broken promises and stolen time. I've come for what is mine." She gripped the edge of the door. "You can't take it. It's not 7 days. Yet?" The man's smile vanished. "Time is bending, Mara. You opened a gate when you helped her. You think kindness is free? Every act of good comes with weight. Some are blessings, some are chains." "I didn't ask for this," she said, tears stinging her eyes. "But you accepted it," he replied. Then, slowly, he reached out his hand, not forcefully, not like a thief, but like someone who knew she'd hand it over eventually. "Give it to me," he whispered, "before it finishes what it started." Mara slammed the door. She ran back into the room, locked it, and pushed her. Small table in front of it. Her breathing was fast, chest rising and falling like she had been running for hours. The candle lit itself. She didn't light it. It just burned. Then the tin box began to shake. Just slightly. Just enough to make a soft scraping sound on the wood. Mara stepped back, staring at it in fear. She grabbed her phone, dialed Naya. "Naya, please, I need you to come, now." "Mara?" Naya's voice was sleepy. "What's going on?" "Please," she said again. "Don't ask questions. Just come." 30 minutes later, Naya arrived. Mara let her in, locked the door behind her, and pulled her into the bedroom. Naya looked around. Her eyes went straight to the tin box. "That's it, isn't it?" she said. Mara nodded. "It's cursed, Naya. Something's wrong. A man came tonight. He knew everything. He said I opened something." Naya swallowed hard. "We need help. A real kind of help. Someone who knows how to deal with things like this." "Who?" "I know someone," Naya whispered. "An old woman. She doesn't live in the city, but if anyone knows how to close a door, Sulnek, it's her." Mara nodded, holding back tears. "Then let's go. I don't care how far." Naya looked at the box one last time, then back at Mara. "We leave tomorrow morning." Neither of them noticed that the gold inside its box had started glowing again, but this time it was pulsing like a heartbeat. By sunrise, Mara and Naya were already on the bus out of the city. The road stretched like a quiet serpent through small towns and empty fields. Mara sat by the window, clutching the biscuit tin tight on her lap, wrapped in 2 scarves and tied, in a plastic bag. She didn't let it go once, not even when she fell asleep briefly on the way. Naya sat beside her, silent most of the time. But her eyes kept moving, from the road to the box, from the box to Mara, and then back again. Something had changed in Naya, too. She wasn't just worried. She was afraid. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. By midday, the bus stopped, at a dusty, forgotten village that smelled of rain and old leaves. Children ran barefoot on the red sand. Goats crossed the road lazily. Old men sat under mango trees, chewing sticks and staring like they could see right through you. Naya helped Mara carry her things as they walked through narrow paths lined with mud houses and tall grass. Finally, they reached a small compound, with a strange charm, fresh herbs tied above the door, stones arranged in a circle near the steps, and a carved wooden figure sitting quietly by the window. "She's in there," Naya said, pointing. "Her name is Mama Ijoma. People say she was born with one eye that sees this world, and another that sees the one underneath." Mara swallowed hard. "Does she charge money?" Naya shook her head. She doesn't care about money, but she asks for truth. If you lie, she knows. Mara nodded slowly, then stepped forward. Inside the small hut, the air was thick with smoke, and something else Mara couldn't name. Not perfume, not herbs, but older, deeper, like forgotten prayers. The woman sat on a stool, her back turned. Her grey hair flowed down like melted silver. She didn't move when they entered. She just said in a voice that was quiet, but full of power, "You brought it." Mara's knees weakened. She fell to the floor gently and placed the wrapped box in front of her. "Yes, Mama," she whispered. "It's here." Mama Ijoma turned slowly. Her face was carved by time, each wrinkle shaped by something more than age. Wisdom. Maybe suffering, maybe both. But her eyes, one was brown and kind, the other, white, cloudy. Yet it stared straight into Mara's soul. "You helped an old one, didn't you?" she asked. "Yes," Mara replied. "She gave me this, and you accepted it with a clean heart." Mama Ijoma nodded. "That is why it hasn't killed you." Mara's breath caught. "Killed me?" "But someone else touched it," Mama Ijoma continued. "Someone who had no permission." "My friend Jasper," Mara said, her voice breaking. "He's in the hospital. He's not himself anymore." "He won't be," Mama Ijoma said, "because he took without asking. And this thing," she tapped the box gently, "does not belong to you. It does not belong to anyone. It chooses." Mara blinked quickly. "Then why was it given to me?" Mama Ijoma smiled sadly. "Because your kindness lit a candle in a place where no light has burned for years. That old woman you helped, she was no ordinary person. She was a keeper, a watcher, a test." Naya gasped beside her. "So it really was a test?" "Yes," Mama Ijoma said, "to see if goodness still lives in this world, and it does in her." She pointed at Mara. Mara was shaking now. "Then why is everything going wrong? Why did that man come to my door? Why is the gold alive?" "Because the test is not finished," Mama Ijoma said. "You have 2 more days. On the 7th day it will reveal its final form. If your heart remains clean, you will be rewarded. If not—" She didn't finish the sentence. Naya asked, "So what do we do now?" Mama Ijoma looked at Mara. "You stay here. You do not leave until the 7th night. You do not give that gold to anyone. And no matter what voice calls you, you do not answer." Mara nodded, her eyes wide with fear. That night, Mara lay in a small mat in the corner of the hut. The gold sat beside her in the biscuit tin, unmoving. Until midnight, a soft knock tapped against the door. 3 times. Then a voice. "Mara, please, open up. It's me, Jasper." Mara sat up slowly, heart pounding. Her lips trembled. But she remembered Mama Ijoma's words. She didn't move. Then the voice changed. "Mara, open the door, or I'll burn this whole place to the ground." Mara sat frozen on the mat, her fingers gripping the edge of her wrapper tightly. The voice outside was no longer soft, no longer pleading. It was now deep, cruel, and twisted, like something wearing Jasper's voice as a mask. The knock came. Again, louder, angrier, like fists slamming against her chest. "Open the door, Mara. You think you can hide from me, from what's coming." She couldn't breathe. She wanted to scream, but her throat locked. The box beside her began to vibrate gently on the ground, not loudly, just enough for her to feel it through her bones. Then she remembered Mama Ijoma's words. "No matter what voice calls you, you do not answer." She covered her ears. The banging stopped. Complete silence followed. Not even crickets, not even wind, and then laughter, low, mocking, and inhuman. She curled tighter on the mat, whispering to herself, over and over, like a prayer. "It's not him. It's not him." Suddenly the front door creaked open. Mara's eyes shot wide. Had Mama Ijoma gone outside? Had she let him in? She sat up slowly, terrified, trying not to breathe too loudly. But the voice that came next wasn't Jasper's. It was Mama Ijioma's, only not quite. "Marahi," it sounded like her, but stretched, deeper, hollow. "You've been chosen. Come, my daughter. Let me show you the real reward." Mara stood up and reached for the box. The candle beside her flickered, then died. Total darkness swallowed the room. She felt a pull on her chest, not physical but spiritual, like something trying to drag her toward the door. "No," she whispered. The ground under her feet turned cold. She held the box tighter. "Mama!" she cried, but there was no answer. She ran to the back of the hut, heart racing, searching for any sign of the old woman. But she wasn't there, just her mat, her stool, the strange herbs that now lay scattered on the floor like they had been thrown in anger. Suddenly, the mirror near the corner cracked, once, twice. Then it shattered. A low growl came from the doorway. Mara turned and saw something she would never forget. A figure stood in the middle of the room, tall like Jasper, but wrong. Its arms were too long, its mouth too wide, and its eyes, there were no eyes. Just two black holes with smoke swirling inside them. The voice came again, echoing from deep inside its chest. "You failed the test. You shared the secret. Now, pay the price." Mara stepped back, clutching the biscuit tin to her chest. "I didn't share anything. I only tried to protect it." The figure reached out a hand. Its fingers were like claws of wet stone. "Give it to me, Mara. It's not yours anymore." She looked down at the tin. It was glowing now like fire behind metal. Her chest burned, not from fear, but from a different force, something stronger than pain. "No," she said, louder this time. "I was told to keep it safe. I didn't steal it. He did." The room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The figure let out a shriek that shattered what little glass was left, and then a flash of white light burst from the tin. It shot into the room like lightning, hitting the figure in the chest. The thing screamed, a sound like metal tearing inside bone, and was thrown backward into the wall. Mara dropped to her knees, gasping. The door slammed shut on its own. The air stilled, and Mama Ijoma walked calmly out from the back room, her face as calm as if she had just returned from a short nap. "I told you," she said softly. "No matter what you hear, do not answer." Mara stared at her, eyes wide. "Where were you? What was that thing?" Mama Ijoma sat on the stool. "A shadow, a spirit of greed. They come when a pure heart is holding something the world wants to corrupt." She looked at the tin, which had stopped glowing. "You fought." "It," she said. "That means your heart is still clean." Mara wiped her tears. "But it said I failed." "No." Mama Ijoma shook her head. "It lied. They always lie, especially when they know they are losing." She pointed at the window. "Tomorrow is the 7th day," she said. "One more night, Mara, just one more." Mara nodded slowly, her body trembling. But far away, in a place no map could find, a different kind of shadow gathered. Watching, waiting, smiling. The final day came with a silence so heavy, even the birds didn't sing. Mara woke up early. Her eyes opened slowly, her chest tight, like something invisible was sitting on it. She lay still for a while, listening. No knocks, no voices, no strange laughter, just the soft rustle of leaves outside and the distant crackle of a firewood stove. It was the 7th day. She sat up and looked at the biscuit tin beside her. It no longer vibrated or glowed. It looked still, ordinary, almost harmless. But Mara knew better now. This thing she had carried for a week wasn't just gold. It was something far older, far deeper, something ancient souls had fought over in shadows long before she was born. Mama Ijoma came into the room with a bowl of warm porridge. "Eat, child," she said gently. "Your spirit needs strength." Mara took it quietly and ate, each spoonful settling in her stomach like a stone. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was sacred. Both of them knew what tonight meant. After sunset, the final test would come, and whatever Mara did in that moment would decide her future, or destroy her. "I'm scared," Mara whispered as she placed the empty bowl aside. Mama Ijoma looked at her with soft, knowing eyes. "Fear is good. It keeps you awake, but do not let it control you. You've already passed the test in ways you don't see." Mara looked down. "Then why does it feel like the hardest part hasn't even started?" Mama Ijoma nodded slowly. Because it hasn't. As evening fell, the sky turned a strange mix of orange and purple, like two worlds were pressing against each other. The wind picked up slightly, stirring the herbs and dried leaves tied to the windows. Mama Ijoma stood and began placing white stones in a circle on the floor. She hummed as she moved, her voice deep and low, like a lullaby meant for the dead. Mara watched, unsure whether she should ask questions or stay quiet. Finally, Mama Ijoma placed the tin inside the circle and turned to her. "At midnight you must sit here," she said. "Alone." Mara's eyes widened. "Alone?" "Yes. No one must interfere. If anyone else enters the circle, the test ends." "Badly." Mara nodded slowly. That night, the candle was lit once again. The room was dark, the shadows still. Mama Ijoma sat outside, her back to the door, whispering prayers in a language Mara didn't understand. Mara sat inside the circle, the tin in front of her. At exactly midnight, everything changed. The air turned heavy like water. The candle's flame rose 3 times its height. The walls of the hut began to stretch, not physically but spiritually. It felt like Mara was no longer inside a small hut in a village, but floating in a space between life and something beyond. Then it came. A voice, not loud, not angry, just cold. "Give it to me, Mara." She looked around. No one was there. But the room, or what was left of it, was now filled with eyes. Dozens of glowing eyes, watching her from the dark corners. Some blinked, some didn't. Some were human, others were not. "You've carried it long enough," the voice said again. "You've proved yourself. But now, hand it over." She shook her head. "You're not the one who gave it to me." Low growl rippled through the room. One of the eyes burst into flames and vanished. "You think this ends with you being rewarded? You think kindness protects you forever?" She didn't respond. The biscuit tin began to rattle again, then shake, then jump, as if something inside was trying to escape. Suddenly, a dark hand, thin and made of smoke, reached toward it from outside the circle. Mara reacted on instinct. She grabbed the tin and pulled it closer to her chest. "No!" she shouted. "This isn't yours," the voice screamed, louder than thunder, louder than anything she had ever heard. All the eyes blinked wildly, and the shadows in the room began to swirl like a storm. Then, silence. The tin went still. The candle went out. The air cleared, and Mara was alone. She blinked rapidly, her whole body shaking. Her palms were wet with sweat, her heart beat wild. The tin was still in her lap, quiet now, cold, dead. The door opened. Mama Ijoma stepped in, a look of calm pride on her face. "You did it," she said. Mara couldn't speak. She just stared. Mama Ijoma walked forward and knelt beside her. She slowly opened the tin. Inside, the gold was gone. In its place was something else, a seed, small, silver, glowing softly. "What is this?" Mara asked, voice barely audible. "A gift," Mama Ijoma said. "But this one is real. No curse, no shadow, just power." "What do I do with it?" Mama Ijoma smiled. "You plant it." Mara held the seed in her palm, like it was the last piece of light left in the world. It was small, barely the size of her fingernail, but it hummed softly like it had a heartbeat. A strange warmth spread from it into her skin, then into her chest, then deeper. Mama Ijoma placed a hand on her shoulder. "This seed," she said, "is not just for growing plants. It grows what your heart carries." Mara looked up at her, confused. "What does that mean?" Mama Ijoma stood and walked toward the door. "You'll understand when the time is right. But be careful. Whatever you plant it in, it will grow your truth. Nothing more. Nothing less." Outside, the village was quiet under the early morning sky. The sun had not yet risen, but a soft blue light was crawling across the horizon, as if the world itself was waking after a long, hard dream. The next day, Mara returned home. Jasper was still in the hospital, silent, still, almost like a shell of who he used to be. She visited him standing beside his bed, wondering if he could hear her. His eyes were open but blank. "I forgave you," she whispered, brushing his hand gently. "But you have to come back on your own. No one can fight." Your shadow for you." She left him a small flower beside his pillow, one she had picked on her way there, hoping it would carry something of the peace she had found. Back home, she cleaned her small yard, dug a small patch of soil near her window. She held the seed, once more breathing deeply. What if this goes wrong, she asked herself. But deep inside, she knew it wouldn't. This wasn't about gold, or curses, or even about what happened to Jasper. This was about her, who she was, what she chose to become after everything. She pressed the seed gently into the earth and covered it with her hand. As soon as her palm touched the ground, something moved. Tiny sprout pushed upward, cracking the soil within seconds. It grew fast, rising inch by inch while Mara watched, frozen. In less than a minute, a tall green stem stood before her. Then leaves. Then soft white flowers bloomed across the top. And then fruit. A golden fruit, glowing faintly, pure, untouched. She reached out and touched it. A rush of warmth flooded her body. Not magic, not power, but peace. A deep, grounding peace that wrapped itself around her heart like a mother's embrace. From that day on, Mara's life began to change. She planted more seeds, not from the tree, but from within herself. She started a small garden. People came to buy herbs and fruit, then more people. Then word spread that her plants healed faster, lasted longer, brought peace. She used the money to fix her home, then to help others, not because of guilt, not because of fear, but because she remembered what it felt like to be empty, and what it meant when someone offered kindness in return for nothing. Years passed. The tree outside her window never died. It grew taller, stronger, its white flowers falling like snow whenever the wind blew. Jasper never fully recovered, but sometimes he sat under the tree, quiet, watching the leaves move. Mara never pushed him to speak. She just sat with him in silence. One morning, a little girl passing by with her mother pointed at the tree. "Mama, look, that tree is glowing." The mother smiled and nodded. "That's the kindness tree, my dear. It only grows in the house of someone whose heart survived a storm." And inside her home, Mara sat by her window, watching the world change just a little from the seed she chose to protect. Because one day, she helped an old woman carry water. Little did she know, that single act would carry her into destiny.